Hello everyone, I'm back with a video going over the initial setup of a game management scene. So this is the scene that's going to actually have the player in it. It's the scene that has the menu and controls whether the menu is visible or not visible. It is the scene where it controls the levels actually changing. So this is just going to be the starting setup. So to begin, just Command N to make a new empty scene, plus other node. I'm specifically going to just get the default node here. I'm going to rename that to game, and I'm going to save it. Now, I could create a folder specifically for my game management, or I could save it here in the main directory, sort of a matter of personal preference. I'm just going to save it here. And I'm going to drag my player scene onto that node. So now my player is in the scene. I'm not actually going to drag the levels in because I'm going to have a script that controls when the levels are added and when they're not. Next up, I'm going to take care of the environment. So right now, there's just the default sort of world environment and default lighting set up, but they're not actually in any of the scenes. And so I have to decide, am I going to be having the same lighting, the same sky and ground color across my entire game and all the different levels? Or is that something that might be changing? Maybe level 1 is during the day and level 2 is at night or sunset or something else. So maybe I want to have my light specific to the levels. Maybe I want it to be the same all the way through, and then I want to assign it to the game scene. Easiest way to add just a light to represent the sun is to come over to the top of our viewer here and click on the little menu toggle. And I have the settings for the sun here. I can adjust the angle to make it look like a different time of day. I can change the color of the sun and have it be, maybe the lighting's a little bit cool, maybe it's a little bit warm, maybe a little bit more subtle than that. But I can sort of skew one direction or another depending on what I actually want that lighting to look like. So now I have a cool light. I can increase the energy of the sun. Notice that there's this glow from that. Maybe I don't want that much energy. Maybe I want to put it back. I can increase the distance of the shadow, which doesn't have a huge impact right now, so I'm just going to leave that at the default, and I'll set that back to the default as well. But if I click on Add Sun to Scene, now I have that directional light 3D as my starting point. And I can actually adjust the location of the light as needed. And I might come back and adjust this further later, but for now, this should be fine for a starting point. So that happens to be a directional light 3D. I could have searched for the light and added it this way. You'll notice there are a couple other lights that we can add depending on what we want going on in the scene, and these will all behave a little bit differently. So the Omni light is more like the point light in Blender. Spotlight, pretty self-explanatory. All right, so we have our directional light. And for the environment, I can do the same thing. Again, if it's all the same time of day across the entire game, I'll add my environment to this game scene. If it might be changing across my levels, I would do this step on those levels instead. So same little menu icon. I have the default colors for the environment. I can change the sky color to something that I like the look of. Maybe I'm going for some sort of alien planet. Maybe it's sunset. Maybe it is the ocean that's underneath. Maybe it's floating in the sky. I can really customize this depending on how I want things to look. I can have more energy or less energy to the sky, and then I can add that world environment to the scene. The great thing about this is now that I have that basic environment set, I can customize it significantly. So when my world environment node is selected, I can click on the environment over here. I can come into the background. I can come into the sky. Um, Notice I can change to a custom color if I wanted. I can change my energy over here. I can access the sky material over here. And then I have even more settings to customize what this is going to look like. Like I can change the curve by clicking and dragging on it to change the transition. Maybe the horizon isn't going to be quite that light. Maybe it's going to be a different color altogether. Maybe this curve is the one that's going to be changing depending on what I want this to look like. Again, maybe that's going to get a little darker so that it sort of blends together, becomes more of a gradient that's in the background, depending. So I can just keep changing this until I'm happy with the result. Maybe this is going to get a little bit darker, a little bit more purple. I don't know, whatever changes I want to do, I can keep customizing them, and you'll notice there are just a huge amount of settings that I can come in and make adjustments to for the world environment as a whole. So I have my world environment, I have my directional light, I can adjust the angle of that light, and all of those other settings are still available over here depending on what I want that to look like. At this point, I can probably save my game scene, and once my menu is actually created, that's going to get added here in the game scene as well.